This paper is entirely consistent with the entire history of American heart. So we have always promoted lowering saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium. And that's characteristic of so many ultra-processed foods. We have always promoted eating whole foods like veggies, fruits, legumes, nuts, and seeds, right? And so that part is entirely consistent. Ultra is the word here of interest. But so let's back off from ultra and think about what's unprocessed. And that's obvious. It's going to be vegetables and fruits and beans and nuts and seeds. And then what's minimally processed, and that's, well, I peeled my banana, I took the nut out of the shell, I made some hummus with garbanzo beans, and so I put it in a food blender. Isn't that processed? Yeah, but that's minimally processed. So now let's go in a restaurant and they're making dishes. They're using all kinds of culinary skills and they're processing it along the way. But ultra processed is just beyond what we're doing with food normally. You can't recognize the food anymore. So one aspect of this is the physically processed, the industrially, oh, I can't see what food this is anymore. It's so mixed up and changed from its original presence that I can't see it anymore. Almost beyond the physical processing is cosmetic additives and ingredients of rare or no culinary use. So I intentionally had brought up the restaurants because one of the categories that actually makes you ultra processed is that no self-respecting chef or no home cook would have this ingredient that makes it ultra processed. A really simple example would be high fructose corn syrup. If you were going to cook something at home or a restaurant was going to cook something, they would use sugar, not high fructose corn syrup. That's something that the food industry uses because they mass produce it and it's inexpensive. So it's kind of between this physical and cosmetic additive area where the ultra processing kicks in. And let's just make it crystal clear. What does that mean? Multicolored marshmallows in a cereal, right? Or how about a yogurt that's neon green or neon pink for kids? That would be a little crazy. Cheese-like substance that you spray out of a can, or even a hot dog or deli meat dish where, what the heck is in that processed meat? So those are all the things that make them ultra processed, not just normally processed like we would do to a lot of foods when we eat it. One of the reasons most of the UPF foods are unhealthy is they actually fall into the categories that health professionals have been concerned about forever. Most of them are actually high in saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium. And most of them are low in the nutrients that we wish Americans get more of, more fiber, more vitamins, more minerals. The extra thing they have is these cosmetic additives and these ingredients of rare or no culinary use. And we think sort of the extra added component here makes you want them more. So some of the things that might have these added ingredients in them, what if it was a tomato sauce? So what if it's a tomato sauce that actually did use some high fructose corn syrup, but otherwise it was tomatoes and onions and garlic and seasonings, and you used it on a pasta dish. And because of some of the cosmetic additives or otherwise, it's relatively inexpensive in the grocery store. And as a parent without much time and with limited resources, you made a simple pasta dish with that. Think about a salad dressing that might have some of these emulsifiers in them. Emulsifiers are one of the categories that make something ultra processed. But what do you use a salad dressing for? You put it on a salad. So people aren't drinking salad dressing. Hopefully they're making a salad and they're more likely to eat it if it's not just raw vegetables, if it's got some dressing on it. Think of the deli meats that are very processed and ultra processed, and you're trying to use some of the plant-based meat alternatives. Those technically are usually lower in saturated fat and lower in sodium than the deli meats. And I know some of them have been high in saturated fat with coconut fat and high in sodium. But as I've watched the food industry respond to that, they've taken out the coconut fat and used avocado oil, and they've taken out some of the sodium. They're really working on versions that are relative to those deli meats, healthier in terms of overall nutrient profile. So within the continuum, there are some foods that would technically qualify as ultra processed, but they might fit someone's budget and they might be practical and they might help you eat other things that would be healthier than the choice that you were left with. So a bunch of obvious things to cut out and still a few options. It's sort of around the margins. There's a few things that are at least reasonably healthy. So it's a little silly to say, let's cut every single one of them out, because it's 60% of the American diet is ultra-processed foods. And we actually don't have replacements for them all at this point that are reasonably priced and healthier. So some of them can still fit into a healthy dietary pattern. Most of them do not.